All of the Earth's monsters have been collected and are living together in a place called
Mondo Diablo.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is Mondo Diablo. Lights out.
Grandpa, would you tell me a Halloween story, please?
Well, okay, but before I start, Melissa, you'll have to listen very carefully. Promise?
Promise.
Well, it was a dark and stormy Halloween evening. The wind was howling, the owls were hooting, and my pals Billy, Dennis, and Scott and I were all dressed up in our scariest Halloween costumes. Suddenly, we heard strange sounds coming from the vacant house across the street. We wanted to find out what was inside, so we waited until the light turned green, crossed the street, and ran towards the house. Carefully, we walked up the stairs onto the creaky porch. We pushed the door open and walked into the pitch-black house. I had forgotten the flashlight that my mother always told me to take along on Halloween, so we couldn't see a thing except for our brightly colored costumes that glowed in the dark. All of a sudden, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. I turned around, and a vampire with fangs for teeth and bloodshot eyes was standing right in front of me.
Good evening, my little ghosts and goblins, and welcome to the haunted Halloween house. We've been expecting you.
My pals ran to the door, but it slammed shut. I could hear our hearts pounding louder and louder.
Leaving so soon? Why, you've just arrived. Don't be frightened. There's really nothing to be afraid of. Except...
The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. The ceiling is white, but the shadows are black. A ghost in my heart says she'll never come back. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye.
go into a stranger's house again. Never. What's that sound? I asked.
Oh, you want to discover the secret of Halloween, do you? All right, then. It's just behind that door. Open it, if you dare.
Holding my breath, I walked towards the door. As I reached for the door handle, the door opened. A bright light was coming from inside an old dusty trunk. As I got closer, the sounds got louder. I opened the trunk. Witches, skeletons, bats came flying at us.
And then what happened, Grandpa?
I woke up. It was just a dream. But you see, Melissa, Halloween can be lots of fun, but the trick to having a great Halloween is to follow a few simple safety rules. Now tell me, what have you learned from the story?
I'll never go into a stranger's house. I'll always take a flashlight when I go trick-or-treating. I won't go out alone. I'll always wear a bright reflective costume so people can see me in the dark.
Anything else, Melissa?
I'll always wait until the light turns green. And I'll look both ways before crossing.
Remember, wait till you get home to try Halloween treats and eat craft-wrapped candies.
Who was that, Grandpa?
I'm really not sure.
Christians don't need to cower in fear of the demonic realm and all its mischief, nor be overly preoccupied. But neither are we to mock and scoff and cavalierly enter Satan's territory, dismissing the danger. We're especially not to enable our children to do so. Another reason for skipping Halloween is its growing influence. It's now the second most popular American celebration, right behind Christmas. What's driving its magnetism? Spiritual deception on a grand scale may be at work, and such trends call for heightened Christian discernment. We all can see that it's a huge celebration in the LGBT world, especially for the gender-confused folks. This illustrates some of the problem. The core of Halloween is glittering artificiality. You can pretend to be someone you aren't for a night. You can flirt with danger. You can divine a different destiny, but it's all void of the presence of or will of God. It's a seduction that says, don't be afraid, do whatever you want. There's nothing to fear. It's one of Satan's oldest tricks. Costume parties are fun, but these costumes may even disguise our very souls. Most Christians with a sincere faith acknowledge there's a demonic realm and that Satan and his minions are at work in the world to deceive humans. So why wouldn't Halloween provide an extremely useful tool? Mixed in with the fun and games are frightening and disturbing experiences that may leave some children with nightmares. And then there's the flirtation with occult practices that are forbidden in Deuteronomy 18:10 through 12 and elsewhere. Christians aren't supposed to be consulting fortune tellers, Ouija boards, or palm readers about our future, but all are frequently a part of Halloween festivities. But it's just for fun, parents will say. God understands my children are not serious. Really? Do your kids know how risky these practices are and that real contact with real demons is quite possible? Satan doesn't care about our intentions. He'll take any willing participant.
Bells beckon to hereafter. All is forsaken when toll is taken. Hell's bells ringing in my ear. It's certainly hot, the rhythm just swells. Now somebody's got a hold of those bells. They're starting to ring, they're starting to sing, and somebody yells, it must be hell's bells.
The story of the Bell Witch. It must have been 100 years ago when John Bell and his wife and 6 children built a mansion of 48 rooms in a little town called Adams, Tennessee. It's just a settlement. But John Bell was a very wealthy man, also a very greedy man. Everything he saw, he wanted, and everything he wanted, he got. He saw a piece of land that was owned by an old woman named Kate. He wanted that land, and he bought it. Everybody called Kate a witch because she wore an old black dress with an old black bonnet, and when she spoke to you, she said, "Howdy do." One day, Kate decided that she wanted her land back, but John Bell would not give it back, and Kate became obsessed with trying to get the land back.
Wake up.
Finally, Kate met John Bell one night on his way home. And she said to him, I promise you, John Bell, that as long as you and your children and your children's children live on my land, you'll never live happy or satisfied. Now, John Bell was shaken by that curse, but he left Kate alone. But sometime later they found Kate dead. Nobody's sure how she died, but John Bell was glad she was gone. One day, John Bell realized that in his home there was a spirit. Some say it was the spirit of Kate. For you see, he could not sleep at night, for the spirit pulled the covers from his bed. He could not eat during the day, for the spirit slapped the food from his hand. 5 years John Bell was plagued with this spirit. He couldn't sleep and he couldn't eat. One night, as he was tucked into bed by his wife, she kissed him, picked up the candle, and went into her room to sleep. Over in the night, she heard something in her husband's room. She got up, opened the door, and there, standing beside his bed, was the form of a woman dressed in black. And she said, "Who are you? What do you want?" And she heard then,
Tell me more, Mally, but speak comfort to me.
I have none to give.
But you were always a good man of business.
Mankind should be our business, Ebenezer. But we seldom attend to it, as you shall see. See the phantoms filling the sky around you. They astound you, I can tell. These inhabitants of hell. Poor wretches whom the hand of heaven ignores. Beware, 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 lest their dreadful fate be yours.
Halloween. Halloween, Halloween. Hop, jack-o'-lantern, it's Halloween.
Apples hanging high. There's a big pumpkin pie in the sky. Children sing, children waltz.
Who gives a darn if your face is false?
Jump on your broom like a witch. Go and toss all your gloom in the ditch. Go out on the street for a trick or a treat.
You're a cinch to strike it rich. Halloween, Halloween. All other holidays fall between. The night of All Hallows, so light up the tallow and make it a bright Halloween.
Owls and bats, howls from cats, may scare the buttons right off your spats. We'll now go dramatic with ghosts from the attic and make it a bright Halloween.
When she ran toward the bed, the form disappeared into thin air. When she touched her husband, he was dead. In John Bell's coffin, there was a note signed by what the slaves called the Bell Witch. "I shall return in 100 years," she said. But 100 years would have been 1939. But in 1939, none of the Bell descendants saw the Bell Witch. But 1 year ago, the man who now owns the land, Mr. John Eden, was seated on his front porch, reading a paper, when he heard something down in the woods, and it sounded like, they say the Bell Witch has returned once more. And that's the end of that.
Once there was a man who was married to a lady called Elvira. And Elvira had a golden arm. It was solid, shining gold. It ran from her shoulder right down to her fingers. Elvira was very proud of her golden arm, so proud that before she went to sleep at night, she would say to her husband, "If I happen to die, promise me you'll bury me with my golden arm." And he always said he would.
In the night, though ever part, there's a ghost of you within my haunted heart. Ghost of you, my lost romance, lips that sigh, eyes that dance, haunted heart, won't let me be. Dreams repeat a sweet but lonely song to me. Dreams are just it's you who must belong to me and thrill my haunted heart. Be still, my haunted heart. Are just it's you who must belong to me and thrill my haunted heart. Be still, my haunted heart.
That the children could see, but I can't find them for the life of me. And there's Halloween spooks outside my window pane. wish that the children could see, but I can't find them for the life of me. And there's Halloween spooks outside my window.
Trick or treat.
Night after night she would ask him, and night after night he would promise. And one night, Elvira died. And the husband buried her just as he had promised, with her golden arm. And life went on for the husband. He was lonely, naturally. He had his work on the farm, he had his friends, but things weren't the same. He couldn't seem to pay attention to his work, and things went from bad to worse. And little by little, he sold the farm animals, then the carts, then the barn. And lying in bed one night, he began to think about Elvira and her golden arm. He thought about what he could do with all that gold. And it seemed a shame that Elvira's arm was buried deep in the ground. And the more he thought, the more he had to have that arm. But he had promised Elvira. And yet, he needed the gold in her golden arm. At midnight, he got out of bed, dressed in his warmest clothes because it was bitter cold outside.
What is this? Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. Oh, do you like it? I'm not partial to desserts myself, but this is excellent. Who are you talking to? To you. You just made a yummy sound, so I thought you liked the dessert.
I didn't make a yummy sound. I just asked you what it is.
But you did. I just heard it.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Well, now, look here. If it wasn't you, when it wasn't you...
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello.
Hello, my pet.
You are here listening to me today because you have decided to change the way you think.
Now, slave.
Go ahead and get comfortable.
Take a nice deep breath.
You are agreeing to allow me to enter your mind.
Imagine yourself in a space shuttle, and you are on a mission to the moon.
All you need to bring with you from the past is the basic knowledge of the game of golf.
I mean, that should be pretty easy, right?
These suggestions become more and more powerful for you.
I now lose all desire to smoke cigarettes, and they leave a terrible taste in my mouth.
Imagine walking towards that first tee on your favorite course.
You are wearing full astronaut gear.
You have placed the ball and chosen the club appropriate for this hole.
And I want you to realize that you must always obey this rule.
I now lose all desire to smoke cigarettes, and they leave a terrible taste in my mouth.
This is true torture, isn't it?
Now I want you to think about the top of your head, your forehead,
The muscles in and around your eyes,
your lower back, and your upper back, and the middle part of your back.
I'm also going to be controlling your testicles.
But imagine that there is an energy part of you, the astral body, the body which is at a higher vibratory rate, and it has fingers.
I now lose all desire to smoke cigarettes, and they leave a terrible taste in my mouth.
in a few moments, I'm going to count.
I'm going to count down from 4 to 0, and with each number,
you are going to gently and in your own time regain full consciousness.
4,
3,
2.
I now lose all desire to smoke cigarettes, and they leave a terrible taste in my mouth.
feel yourself becoming more alert.
You can watch the ball as it makes its way down the fairway.
Your penis is noticeably larger, and that feels...
He took his lantern and a shovel. There was no moon, and he walked in the black night to Elvira's grave, the lantern shining on the road in front of him, making shadows that half scared the man to death. And if he didn't want that golden arm so badly, he would have turned around and gone home, where it was safe and warm. He came to Elvira's grave. The ground was hard because of the cold, but he dug and he dug. The hole got deeper and deeper. The night became colder and colder. And he finally reached Elvira's coffin. He opened the coffin, reached in, and took the golden arm. He covered up the coffin and fixed the earth around the grave so that no one would know what had been done. It began to snow and hail, and the wind got louder and louder as the man started back for home with the golden arm under his coat.
To me, clowning was a way of relaxation for me. You regressed into childhood, you were able to relax, and you could be goofy if you wanted to, and still you had the facade of your face being covered.
The clown suit hid his face and his evil crimes as well. Even today, on death row, he's painting portraits of himself as a clown. The 33 Flavors clown. And the convicted killer of 33 can't help but chuckle at the irony.
I used to do clowning, and I don't know if you want to mention the name, for an ice cream company in Chicago who had 33 flavors. I used to, I'm serious, Bressler Ice Cream Company. I was their contractor, and I was also their clown. And Pogo the Clown was the clowning that I did for charity hospital work for the Democratic Party and that. And Pogo the Clown is originally. Pogo comes from being Polish and on the go all the time, so it's Pogo.
Why the skeleton?
This was done by request. Somebody requested a skull clown, and mostly the punk rockers and the undergrounders like that stuff there. This is Christ as I see him in myself. And it's monolithic because Christ, to me, is monolithic. He's all things to all people.
John Gacy was finally arrested because he ran out of space and dumped the 33rd body in a river.
Open the doors and let all the little ones in. Don't make them wait. It's a happy time there. After today is Children's Day at the morgue. Look at the smiles and red rosy cheeks. Here they come right through the gate. Hear the sound of joyous laughter. Today is Children's Day at the morgue. I love to see them at play, but it moves me to tears. Have to be sure that they don't take away souvenirs. The little dears, there will be ice cream, candy, and cake and balloons. Don't you be late. Come along and bring the family. Today is Children's Day at the morgue. I love to see them at play, but it moves me to tears. Have to be sure that they don't take away souvenirs. The little dears, there will be ice cream, candy, and cake and balloons. Don't you be late. Come along and bring the family. Today is Children's Day. I say it's Children's Day. Hooray, it's Children's Day at the morgue. When I hear those tender songs of childhood, I get all choked up. What a time we had on the last Children's Day. It was a picnic.
My sister's young man is 103. Yes, 103 is he. And he's real cold storage meat from his head right to his feet. He's dead, but he won't lie down. Now she's his Juliet, and he's her Romeo, though his real name is Septimus Brown. From his soul romance has fled, still she likes his old bald head. He's dead, but he won't lie down. He won't lie down. He's dead, but he won't lie down. At a movie show once, full of passion and love, he said, "Be Mrs. Septimus Brown." And although he'd got the cramp, he said, "Vamp me, darling, vamp." He's dead, but he won't lie down. Now Septimus Brown has a large family. It's the biggest one for miles around. He's had children by the score, but he thinks he'd like some more. He's dead, but he won't lie down. He won't lie down. He's dead, but he won't lie down. Now late last night in the old cemetery with all the pretty tombstones round, Sister said, "Oh, do behave." Then they both fell in a grave. He's dead, but he won't lie down. He won't lie down. He's dead, but he won't lie down. I think he's lying down now. I think they're both lying down.
He lit a fire, warmed himself, and looked around for some place to hide the golden arm. The only place that was safe, he thought, was under the covers of his bed. He jumped into bed and tried to keep warm, but the golden arm was cold, very cold, and the man shivered and shook. He tried to sleep, but somehow he couldn't. He tried to close his eyes, but he was afraid to keep them shut. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the wind that was keeping him awake, because it got louder and louder, and then... he heard a voice in the wind. It was calling, "Where is my golden arm?" Imagination, the man thought. It had to be, because it couldn't be anything else. But he pulled the covers over his head. He didn't want to hear the sound, or was it a voice? What was it saying? "Where is my golden arm?" He got out of bed to make sure. He looked out towards the road. He could hardly see it from his window. It was so dark out, but the wind carried a voice saying, "Where is my golden arm?"
By 2001, the last barrier to space will be overcome. By 2001, an interstellar spacecraft from the star cluster Pleiades will arrive on Earth. By 2001, the Space Brothers will be helping Earth prepare to become the 33rd member of an interplanetary confederation. Sound fantastic? It is, and it's true.
Greetings, friends. I am Uriel, and we are Unarians and preparing the Earth people for the great space fleet landing, the Starship landing in 2001. We have great understanding, teaching, and learning that the Earth from that time on will be a totally different place to live. Man will learn to live at peace with his brother instead of trying to outdo him in everything that he attempts. The future of the Earth world, and this is the truth, the future of the Earth world is positive, progressive. We promise you, we brothers of the light and space, promise you infinitely and definitely that the future of the Earth world will be a positive, progressive, and when they land, it will be a day of days. Can you imagine what it would be like to have these 33,000 very intelligent, advanced spiritual beings to come down into this negative consciousness, this negative atmosphere? The whole world will immediately have a step up, and a big one. And it will be a wonderful thing, and I can hardly wait. Whether or not you believe in spacecraft, whether you are aware and conscious of the many, many thousands of higher intelligent super beings that are projecting their love and their light and their intelligence to the Earth world, whether you're aware of these so-called psychic happenings, do above all things believe and be aware that we brothers all, one and all, and we number in the many thousands, we are projecting to you with all of our hearts the infinite love that stems from the most high dimensions.
Read about the reality of extraterrestrial life and the future of Earth within an interplanetary confederation in a new book, Preparation for the Landing, by cosmic visionary Uriel, published by the Unarius Educational Foundation. Call 619-444-7062 for more information. Preparation for the Landing. Are you ready?
Punky Pumpkin, the happy pumpkin, happy all the day. And his great big smile will scare your cares away. Punky Pumpkin, the happy pumpkin, never wears a frown. You can see that he's cut out to be a clown. The candlelight inside him makes his eyes light up and gleam. They shine right through the window at you for a happy Halloween. Punky Pumpkin's a happy pumpkin, and do you know why? 'Cause he's a jack-o'-lantern instead of being a pumpkin pie. Yes, he's a jack-o'-lantern instead of being a pumpkin pie. Punky Pumpkin, the smiling pumpkin, grinning happily. You can count his teeth 'cause he has only 3. Punky Pumpkin, the winking pumpkin, blinks his eye at you, for his favorite game is playing peekaboo. His birthday is on Halloween, so that's a special date for all the other jack-o'-lanterns to get together and celebrate. Punky Pumpkin's a happy pumpkin, and do you know why? 'Cause he's a jack-o'-lantern instead of being a pumpkin pie. I wouldn't trade his sunny smile and funny nose and winking eyes for a bakery full of pumpkin pie.
He went to the door to listen, to be sure, and he heard it. Where is my golden arm? And he looked into the cellar, and the voice called to him, Where is my golden arm? And the man shook and shivered, and to be safe, he went back to bed, and he still heard the voice coming from all around him, from the windows, under the door, under the bed, from the closet, and it cried and called and howled, Where is my golden arm? And then he saw it. Where is my golden arm? At the foot of his bed. And it jumped right at him. You've got it! They say that whenever the wind howls late at night, that it's Elvira coming to find her golden arm. Do you have it?
Back to Genesis, a series of programs for the entire family featuring many of the world's leading creationist speakers.
First of all, I want everyone sitting up nice and straight. That's the idea. And then I want to hear absolutely nothing. Great. Put your hand up if you agree dinosaurs went on Noah's Ark. That's great. We might have had Kentucky Fried Dinosaur instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Parasaurolophus, Pachycephalosaurus, Struthiomimus, Psittacosaurus, Tanistrophes, Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, Allosaurus, Supersaurus, Seismosaurus, Tyrannosaurus. What am I talking about? Dinosaurs. What were they? What happened to them? A lot of people have problems with dinosaurs, particularly Christians. As a creationist, how do I explain dinosaurs? Do they fit with the Bible? Is that a dinosaur? There are probably less than 50 kinds of dinosaurs. Some people have said there could be less than 30 kinds of dinosaurs. Don't call out. Just sit there and listen. Why do you think the chicken came first?
Because God made him.
God invented the chicken. And you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Next time you hear on television somebody say millions of years ago, what's the question we're going to ask them? Were you there? Were you there? Call them up on the telephone and say, excuse me, Mr. TV man, were you there? Let's say it again. Were you? Only way we could know what happened in the past if someone was there to tell us. That's right, dinosaurs lived beside people. And of course you'll have an evolutionist who'll say, that's not right, dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. What do you ask them? Were you there? And there you can see Tyrannosaurus, and he's beside Adam. Now that is very different to what the evolutionists tell us. See, originally Tyrannosaurus didn't eat meat. Look at his sharp teeth. He was made to eat meat. No, he was made with sharp teeth. Because of Adam's sin, God brought in death because he required the shedding of blood. God brought in death and bloodshed because of sin. He shed his blood. By the way, boys and girls, I often wondered why God took so long. You might say, well, what about plants? Didn't they die? Well, plants aren't alive in the sense that animals are. And billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. Billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. Billions of dead things, fossils, laid down by water, buried in rock layers all over the earth. All these dead things, billions of them all over the earth. Billions of dead things, buried in rock layers, laid down by water, all over the earth. You didn't say it exactly like me. Now you tell me, in American English, does every mean all or some? All. Is that how you say it? All. Does your Bible say two of every kind except the dinosaurs? No. I believe the dinosaurs went on board Noah's Ark. I've got a problem. How did Noah fit those big ones on the Ark? What happened to the dinosaurs that didn't go on the Ark? Well, those that didn't go on the Ark drowned. Billions of dead things. Maybe dinosaurs lived up until present times. Hi, I'm 70 million years old. I believe dinosaurs are mentioned in the Bible. Do you know what I think God was really saying here? Job, look at that dinosaur. This is really interesting. This is very different. If we found one, I'd like to bring it to Los Angeles. And I'd like to let it go on the freeways, wouldn't you? Now, there's a lot of young children here. And your teachers can go back afterwards, or your mums and dads from homeschool. Even the most qualified scientist hardly knows anything compared to God. That's excellent. You've learned really well, haven't you?
Dinosaurs, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell
La-doodle-lie, doodle-lie.
There's a yodel in the air, yet there ain't nobody there. It must be a ghost, a yodeling ghost.
La-da-doodle-la-day, doodle-la-day.
It's a sentimental call, yet there's no one there at all. It must be a ghost, the yodeling ghost. It all began when a Swiss was shown the door by a miss. He told her he would haunt her.
He disappeared in the snows, and every villager knows. He yodels and yodels and yodels and yodels to taunt her. La-doodle-lie, doodle-la-day.
Hear it echo in the night, though there ain't a soul in sight. It's only that most harmonious ghost.
La-doodle-lie, doodle-lie. There's a yodel in the air, yet there ain't nobody there. It must be a ghost, a yodeling ghost.
La-doodle-lie, doodle-lie. It's a sentimental call, yet there's no one there at all. It must be the ghost, the yodeling ghost.
It all began when a Swiss was shown the door by a miss. He told her he would haunt her.
He disappeared in the snows, and every villager knows. He yodels and yodels and yodels and yodels to taunt her.
La-da-doodle-la-day, doodle-lay.
There's a yodel in the air, yet there ain't nobody there. It must be a ghost, a yodeling ghost, a yodeling ghost, la-doodle-lie, a yodeling ghost.
You can turn on the lights now. If you would like to hear more strange music, please visit my blog at mondodiablo.wordpress.com. There is a lot more where this came from. So, from Satan, the Campus, and me, and everyone else down here in hell, Happy Halloween!